Welcome on into a mailbag edition of Falcons Today. I'm answering questions that were asked during our live show, which airs every single Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. First question comes in from Chris Jeff. Do you think the Falcons should sign Stephon Gilmore? I feel like the Falcons should add some more depth at corner, but I think there is a lot more internal optimism about Clark Phillips, and I think that's perfectly warranted and fine. There's probably a tendency amongst fans to quickly move on from rookies if they don't have an awesome first year in the NFL. When in reality, you're never going to get anywhere if that's the case. So I think Phillips last year showed some really good play when he was called upon the last quarter or so of the season. And I'm okay with giving Clark Phillips the opportunity to start at CB2. My fear comes in if something were to happen to Phillips or AJ Terrell. You can't bank on this pass rush getting to the quarterback so quickly, the ball comes out quickly. So depth is a concern, but I don't think you need to sign a starter like Stephon Gilmore. If you did, awesome. That'd be really cool too. But I think you can be confident in Clark Phillips starting for this team. Now, before we get on to the other questions on today's episode, name a random Falcons player for me, because I feel like Clark Phillips kind of has the making of oh yeah, I remember him. He started in his second year. What a random dude. Give me a random Falcons player down below in the comment section. Next question comes in via Super Chat from Anthony. Shout out to you, Anthony. What are the chances the Falcons pick up Corey Davis as a free agent? I'll stop right there and answer that first half of the question. Not super high. If minicamp doesn't wow the coaching staff from the receiver standpoint, that should be a concern because the DBs, they can't do a whole lot. It's non-contact. There's no pads. They're not jamming the wide receivers. So the wide receivers should win 8 times out of 10 in minicamp. And if they're not, and it's 5 times out of 10, that's a problem because once the pads come on, it'll go down from 5 to 4 to 3. And now we got a big problem on our hands. So I think if minicamp does not go, superb for the wide receivers, they should go to try to add someone like Corey Davis. All right, part 2 of the question. Should they sign one more defensive player? My preference is safety Justin Simmons. What do you think? I think all 32 teams should be interested in signing Justin Simmons. I have no earthly idea as to why Justin Simmons is still an NFL free agent. He is a top 5 safety in the NFL in my eyes. He's led the league in interceptions since he entered the league in 2016. So yeah, if they want to pair Jesse Bates with Justin Simmons, you have my full blessing. If they are confident in DeMarco Hellams, you also have my full blessing. I kind of view it as a win-win. Safety as a position is usually one of the last spots you fill out. When you think about where teams start to build a roster from, what goes first in the draft? Quarterbacks, edge rushers, offensive tackles, wide receivers, corners. Which position groups get the biggest paydays in free agency? Those 5 position groups. So safety is usually a luxury one. And that's why, sure, if they feel like DeMarco Hellams isn't up to the job and Jesse Bates' price is ridiculously dropped, that'd be an incredible safety tandem. But I'm also, like Clark Phillips, confident in rolling with a young guy like DeMarco Hellams at that spot. So you guys can let me know in the comment section what you would do if you were the Falcons. Can you roll with DeMarco Hellams, or do you feel like they need to go out and get someone like Justin Simmons? Ed Garrett, next one up. I read that Russell Gage is a free agent. He's only 28 and seems to still be useful. Thoughts on bringing him in for a look? I like it. I do. Russell Gage missed all of last year, unfortunately, due to an injury. But, of course, he put together back-to-back 700-plus yard seasons before going to Tampa Bay. This Falcons offense is going to be a much more heavy wide receiver offense than it has been the last 3 years under Arthur Smith. So even if there's not a spot for Russell Gage immediately, I think from a depth perspective, it's a position group you want to be extra deep at, right? Whereas in past years, you only really trotted out Drake London and Matt Collins. You could get by not having 3, 4, 5, 6 wide receivers. Now that's not the case. So yeah, I'd be on board with a Russell Gage reunion. Hopefully he's healthy and has recovered from his injury, but I'm not against it whatsoever. Dave Joseph, next one up. Is Rise Up going to be the calling card this year? I haven't heard anything that says otherwise, But I also, maybe I just had my head in the sand, wasn't aware, just going off the live chat in our live show at the moment, how many people are against the phrase, the term, the calling card, rise up. So I don't have an issue with it. I think a good way to measure if you've got a good team slogan is if when you tell someone, like a stranger for the first time, like, yeah, I'm a Falcons fan, do they say in response, oh, rise up? Or is that just something no one else knows? If no one else knows it, then it's probably not the best one. And maybe it's time to switch it up a little bit and kind of retire it with Matt Ryan. But I don't have like a beef with the rise up. The only thing I've got really a beef with from the team are the gradient uniforms. Those need to be put into a small closet and locked forever. Next question coming in from Is Villa. What players are game changers that can most likely take their play in our team to the next level? Not including not including Arnold and other players we know are amazing. I don't know who. Oh, Arnold Ebiketie. I think they're last names. Okay, game changers that can. So, I mean, you've got like your obvious stars, right? Drake London, Bijan, but guys that can we know that aren't amazing. I would say like kind of a breakout candidate, as I think what you're kind of asking in a long-winded form. That could look like Clark Phillips. Like if he really locks down that CB2 job, him and AJ Terrell, if they kind of put together one of a better cornerback tandems in the NFL, that could be something that really alleviates a lot of pressure on the pass rush. Other spots that can kind of get to that level. What about like on the offensive line, Matthew Bergeron? He was a second-round pick last year. I thought he did pretty well for learning a whole new position altogether and pretty much being the starter right out of the gate once Matt Hennessy went down. So if he takes a big step forward, you get him and Chris Lindstrom, you're going to have a top 5 guard duo in the NFL, and that's going to be really fun for Kirk Cousins to stand behind. So I'll go with Bergeron and Clark Phillips. JB1521, and then we'll hear from our friends at Prize Picks. Have there been any sightings of 6'2" Anthony Johnson doing anything in camp? No. At least I have not heard. Remember, media gets to go to about 1 in every 3 to every 4 practices at OTAs. So there's a lot that goes down that we never get eyes on. And that's just, the way it works. So I have not heard or seen anything regarding Anthony Johnson. Before we get to the other questions on today's show, you know what to expect from our favorite friends over at Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Because all you've got to do at Prize Picks to turn $10 into $1,000 is pick 2 to 6 players and then choose more or less on their projected stats. You can win up to $1,000 by going 6 for 6. Now, they also have really fun deals throughout different days of the week, like Taco Tuesday, where they lower stat projections, or free entry Friday, where they return your entry even if you don't get it correct. So if you're looking for an example of what this looks like, take my season-long stat projections, where I got the more on Caleb Williams at 3,400 yards for the Chicago Bears, taking the less on J.J. McCarthy, because I think Sam Darnold will be this team's Week 1 starter and hold on to the job for maybe longer than the folks at Prize Picks think. Also, I like the more on Malik Neighbors at 875 receiving yards. So if you like my selections, feel free to download the app today and use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video, but shout out to Prize Picks for supporting us here at Chat Sports. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Dat one Falcons fan. Will the Falcons have a 2016-like Super Bowl run and this time win it? The Super Bowl is in New Orleans. How ironic it would be that we win our first Soupy in enemy territory. I mean, no, because the 2015 Falcons were a good football team. Like, they were better than the 2023 Falcons, right? Where did the 2015 Falcons go? Just doing some quick research on the fly here. But the 2015 Atlanta Falcons went 8-8. So I guess not as far off than the 2023 Falcons were. But still, I'm not quite sold on them having a Super Bowl run and Raheem Morris and Kirk Cousins' first year. Maybe year 2. Like, I don't even know, has a head coach gone to the Super Bowl in his first season? That seems like really good trivia that I'd love to know the answer to. But I'm going to go and say pump the brakes. Step one this year, I think, is to make the playoffs, right? Of course, the big goal is to win a playoff game, but let's just get Atlanta back in the dance and kind of get back in relevancy. Jack Piazzi, I really love the idea of signing Eddie Jackson. He can't tackle, but he's a ball hawk. And if Jesse goes down, we need another ball hawk. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of connections between Eddie Jackson and the Falcons, right? The Bears' old GM, Ryan Pace, who extended Eddie Jackson, works in the Atlanta Falcons front office now. And I feel like the secondary can use some more bodies in it altogether. Does the safety room need help? Not necessarily. I think Jesse Bates, DeMarco Hellams, and Richie Grant can put together a really nice safety trio. And that's mostly just because Jesse Bates is a part of it. But you're right that if something were to happen to Bates, like there's a great quote from Peyton Manning's old offensive coordinator at the Indianapolis Colts when a beat reporter asked him, "Hey, we noticed the backup didn't get any reps with the first team offense. Is there a plan if Peyton Manning gets injured?" And the offensive coordinator goes, "If 18 goes down, we're fucked. We don't practice fucked." So, yeah, there's not a great plan if Jesse Bates goes down. You just can't see that happen. And maybe a midseason signing happens at that stage. But I'm definitely on board with the idea of adding Eddie Jackson because I agree that he is a really good safety in the NFL that had some bad down seasons in Chicago, but he was pretty good the last 2 years. His just cap hit was too big for Chicago to hold on to him. My burner, Matthew Petey fan. Petey is something. And I don't, Petey is the GOAT. I don't know where that picture is from, and I'm kind of concerned that I don't recognize that picture. Who will be the sack leader in 2024-2025 season? I'll go with Arnold Ebiketie. That's kind of the vanilla answer. He had 6 sacks last year. That was third on the team, right? You had Bud Dupree and Calais Campbell tie for first with 6.5. But I'll go with Ebiketie. He's going to be in for a much larger role this year as a true pass rusher. I think he can go from 6 sacks to 8, maybe 8.5, as long as he kind of continues on that trend. Next question coming in from Trucker Mike 404. How many picks will Jesse Bates have this year, and who would be a Pro Bowler from the Falcons? Jesse Bates had 6 interceptions last year. What's depressing is that made up 8 total interceptions by the Falcons last year. So the thing with interceptions is I don't know if there's a stat that's more up and down than interceptions. Like yards, touchdowns, they tend to be pretty consistent-ish year to year. Ups and downs, but interceptions can go way up and down. I'll say Jesse Bates has 4 picks this year, right? I don't know if he can get to 6 again. Sometimes you just need the ball to bounce your way, and you also need to go up against bad quarterbacks. And if the Falcons don't play a bunch of backup quarterbacks, because last year half of the NFL lost their starting quarterback, if this year all 32 teams keep their starters or close to it, you may not get so many errant passes that a good safety can pick off. So I'll put 4 picks for Jesse Bates. And who would be a Pro Bowler? Last year, Bates and Chris Lindstrom were the only Pro Bowlers. I'm going to toss in Drake London and Bijan Robinson. Those 4 guys make the Pro Bowl this year. ABC, a Cubs fan. Say a Suzuki fan, it looks like. Do you think Caleb McGarry will stay after this year? Caleb McGarry signed a 3-year contract, right? Was it? 3-year contract. It was pretty team-friendly, too, for the way he played his final season after the Falcons did not pick up. Yeah, 3-year, $34 million contract. So Caleb McGarry is under contract for 2024 and 2025. The team can get out of it after this season with just a $2 million dead cap hit. I think there is a world where the Falcons maybe do move on from Caleb McGarry a year early if they don't see enough pass blocking improvement. Caleb McGarry, like most right tackles in his defense, is a run blocker first, pass blocker second. But there's going to be way more passing in the new offense than under the previous one. So it just may not be a very good schematical fit, right? It's not leaning into the strengths. So that could be a reason as to why maybe the Falcons move on from Caleb McGarry if the pass rushing or pass blocking is lacking this year. Last question coming in from Tony Wright. I have full confidence in strong safety Richie Grant and DeMarco Hellams. I think we'll see a lot of 3 safety looks from the Falcons this year. I mean, I say that because that's what the Rams did, but it also is a good time to remind myself and you guys that just because the new coaching staff did a lot of that at the previous stop in their coaching career doesn't mean that's going to be exactly what happens this year or with their new team, because they are hopefully leaning into their new team's strengths and skill sets, right? So they've got better linebackers than I think they do at safety. Like, Jesse Bates is by far the best of both position groups combined. But after Jesse Bates, the next best player is probably Caden Ellis, and then Troy Anderson, Nate Landman, and then Richie Grant and DeMarco Helms kind of falling after the 3 linebackers, at least in my eyes. So who are you taking off the field to replace? Who are you taking off the field to get Richie Grant on? I sure hope you're not like subbing out Troy Anderson and Nate Landman just to get an extra safety. So that's where I kind of question even myself about, is it going to be a lot of 3 safety looks? Because your 3 safeties aren't that great. The top one is. Just the next 2 are, I don't know if it's not mean, but like average at best. Maybe DeMarco Helms just shocks the world this year. But I'm a lot more confident in Ellis, Landman, and Anderson as a trio than the 3 safeties, because all they've really got going for them is Jesse Bates, and then hopeful emergence of DeMarco Helms, and then a bounce back year hopefully from Richie Grant. But notice all the hopefuls in the safeties, and they're a lot more confident sounding tune in my linebacker breakdown. That's why I'm not absolute about that. All right, that will do it for us on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our mailbag. We're going to sign off. Make sure to subscribe, like the video, and we'll see you all later.